Now we'll analyze the call HTTP method, which will show us how to use the basic HTTP URL connection class. We start by creating a URL object based on the passed string. Next, we call openConnection on this object. Because our URL begins with HTTP, we get HTTP URL connection. We prepare the query on this object. That's why we define a method. In our case, it's get. We set a timeout, that is, the time after which the query is interrupted if we get no response. We also set the two necessary headers, that is, the application ID and the key needed for the authorization of our application after the REST protocol. Additionally, we have here the methods which, after checking, add a special header xParseSessionToken to the token. This header is used to authorize subsequent queries on behalf of the user. Again, we won't use it because we're not logged in yet. Moreover, if the method is not a get, content type is set. This is a type we want to give to our data when sending it. Obviously, we won't send any data since we're in the get method. The next part is used mainly in case we have some data. If we want to send data, this means we have a body. We must set the handling of both the data input and output. If it's a get method, we only get input. If we have a body, we open output stream and push it inside using a writer as a byte stream. In our case, this code fragment won't send anything because we have no body. Now the connection takes place. The call of the connect method itself is a synchronous call. This means that it won't be finished until the server value is returned. It may take a few seconds, even more than 10, so it's a potential blocking method which, in case it started from the user interface, blocks it. That is why we'll use it in the async task we prepared earlier. After executing the query, we may check the code returned by the query. In our case, if it is HTTP OK or HTTP created, we assume that the response is present in the input stream. Then we assign an input stream to the reader we prepared at the very beginning. If the code is not one of the two presented above, we assume that there is an error, so we seek for the result in the error. We look for the response returned by the server via the error stream. Only such a prepared reader may be read line by line and packed to the string, which we will build using a string builder. Finally, we return the string we've just built. In case there is an error, we try to close the reader in order to close the stream. As we can see, this method has a lot of code, which is actually used only for a simple query with two headers. In most libraries, it would be just 2 or 3 code lines. However, because we operate on streams, it's necessary to unpack them, pack them into different streams, and read them piece by piece. The result of the operation of the call HTTP method is a specific string. The getLogin method takes the username and the password and returns a response. It's a response which includes either an error or the correct data of the logged-in user. We've seen both cases in the console. Now we can use the getLogin method in our login activity. We execute the query in the place where we had executed the waiting before. In order to see what is actually returned, we log the result. Let's start our application. For the time being, we won't deal with the login validity. We only want to see what is returned from the server. Let's enter incorrect data. After pressing the login button, the application has terminated due to an exception. This is because we tried to connect to the internet without having asked for permission. Actually, by not asking for permission, we make a potentially dangerous situation for the user. That's why we must add a relevant request for permission in the Android manifest. Outside the application section, we get a request for permission. Now we can perform the test again. In the logcat, we see that the query was executed and we received an error from the server. I've just entered the wrong data, just as I said I would. Now we correct the login data. In this case, a data set appears.